As we progress through the mini-series on the Sino-US relationship, pretty much every incumbent president has entered office by criticising their predecessor's China policy. For Bush, Clinton was too friendly. For Clinton, Bush Sr. was too friendly. And for Reagan, Carter was simply stabbing Taiwan in the back. However, for Obama, whose motto was obviously hope and change, he actually offered no criticism of Bush's China policy. His foreign policy campaigning mostly revolved around the Middle East.
We're still mired in a tragic and costly war that should never have been waged.
And as a believer in global cooperation, Obama supported China's inclusion in the World Trade Organization. And as Obama came to power, he made some unconventional moves. He delayed the visit of the Dalai Lama until he had first met with President Hu Jintao, he ended all military sales to Taiwan, and when he finally met with Hu, it made the Saturday Night Live reel.
I completely understand why you feel entitled to come here and lecture China on our shortcomings.
And when the historians of the future write about the build-up to World War III, I suspect all of their attention will be on the Trump and Biden administrations. But we can't understand Trump's China policy without first understanding Obama's.
Hello there.
Okay, so today's video will basically split the Sino-US relationship into two distinct categories. Firstly, areas where the relationship between the two was built, and then secondly, areas between the two where the relationship was broken. And we finished the Bush episode by looking at China joining the WTO, and basically by having other nations' tariffs on their exports reduced, and by artificially keeping their currency low to boost exports, China became the world's manufacturer. And this more or less stayed the same, minus a few minor trade skirmishes that we'll have a look at the end of the episode. America's trade deficit with China was nearing $300 billion US, and as the American banking system fell apart in 2008, dependence upon Chinese manufacturing only continued to increase. And in terms of strategic policy, America and China shared similar interests in North Korea and with defeating ISIS. If you check out these videos here, you can get a bit of a background of the Sino-Korean relationship. It's changed a lot since 1950, but basically they could be best described as tentative friends, and probably the closest thing North Korea has to an ally. Nonetheless, it doesn't serve Chinese interests to have a neighbour with such immense nuclear capabilities. Also, Xi Jinping personally can't stand Kim Jong-un. In 2016, China agreed to help enforce UN sanctions against the Kim regime that included mandatory inspections of cargo leaving and entering North Korea by sea or air, a ban on all sales or transfers of small arms and light weapons to Pyongyang, and the expulsion of diplomats from the North who engage in, quote, illicit activities. China and America also found common ground on their approach to ISIS. As we saw last time, the war on terror brought the two together because China had long struggled with Islamic radicalism in the province of Xinjiang. With ISIS likely emerging as an affiliate of Al-Qaeda, China made no reservations about supporting a campaign against them, not to mention that 1,000 of ISIS's soldiers came from Chinese Xinjiang. And so as we now look at areas where the Obama regime and the PRC differed, it starts to get really interesting. Previously, well, at least for the 90s and the 2000s, the only real dividing line between the US and China was on China's human rights record. But now there were clear strategic and economic divisions that were also beginning to emerge. As Obama entered his second term and as Xi Jinping entered his first, China was looking to expand its influence into the South China Sea. If you want the full picture, check out this video here. But basically the South China Sea is resource rich and provides key shipping lanes for imports and exports. As Obama was entering his second term, China looked at three key sets of islands: the Spratly Islands, the Paracel Islands, and Scarborough Shoal, which is off the coast of the Philippines. Basically, China forcefully took control of the shoal under the justification that the Filipino Navy harassed Chinese fishermen and illegally arrested the crew of one vessel. According to the US-Filipino Defense Treaty, America really should have gone to defend the shoal, but Obama opted to let it go and went the route of offering stern words.
Hey, you two better settle down. Chris, give Meg her hat.
I don't have to listen to you. You're a dog. You don't have a soul.
Now, as I said in the South China Sea video, I'm personally glad that Obama went that route. But if I was a Filipino, I'd feel completely stabbed in the back, and they took to the streets with their fury. And while Bush was president, economic issues had raised some concern. Last week we saw Chuck Schumer and Lindsey Graham try to pass a bill that increased tariffs. However, during Obama's second term, the trade issue became much more prominent, and while cheap Chinese manufacturing had benefited many American businesses throughout the 90s and the 2000s, if things were to continue as they were, America was destined to lose its spot as the top dog.
Well, I'm the daddy around here.
The two had a couple of skirmishes within the World Trade Organization. For example, in 2012, China took America to the WTO for chucking tariffs on Chinese exports, including solar panels, wind turbines, steel cylinders, and aluminium extrusions. America's defense was that the tariffs were there because China was subsidizing these industries and unfairly helping Chinese businesses to be the most competitive in the global market. The WTO ruled in favor of China, and when America didn't comply, China took them back in 2014. At the very end of Obama's presidency in January 2017, his administration took China to the WTO for the 16th and final time over China subsidizing its steel and aluminium industries. In 2016, the Obama administration signed up to the Trans-Pacific Partnership. Basically, the TPP was a free trade agreement between the West and Asia-Pacific nations such as Vietnam and Malaysia. The aim was to reduce Asia's economic dependence upon China, and Obama said, if we don't pass this agreement, if America doesn't write those rules, then countries like China will.
I don't think the system works.
And while these deep-seated economic issues were creating a rift between China and the USA, the common man was really now feeling the effects. Trump had long spoken about the issues of allowing Asian nations such as Japan and then China to replace American manufacturing.
We let Japan come in and dump everything right into our markets and everything. It's not free trade. If you ever go to Japan right now and try to sell something, forget about it, Oprah. Just forget about it. It's almost impossible. They don't have laws against it. They just make it impossible.
But now with many factory workers in battleground states without jobs, Trump found some quite fertile soil. In Indiana, Trump said that China was responsible for the greatest theft in the history of the world for manipulating its currency and subsidizing businesses to create cheap exports. And now as I get demonetized, Trump also said this.
You got to fix the problem. Because we can't continue to allow China to rape our country, and that's what they're doing. It's the greatest theft in the history of the world.
And you can find loads of other examples where Trump promised to bring back manufacturing jobs by engaging in a trade war against China. As I don't need to tell you, Trump won, and the scene was set to plunge America into a new front of war, a trade war. Thanks for watching. Let me know below, was Obama's China policy good or bad? Stay tuned for next time as we look at the Great Trade War of 2018 and as we see Trump move the Sino-US tensions from 4th to 5th gear. We can't wait to see you next time for our next venture into a fascinating part of history.